I think Miami's great. We just reached our $250 million investment mark in this area, and I still believe that we have a ways to go. We're now becoming Manhattan of the South, where people are going to keep throwing money at this.
Discuss your new acquisition. What is your vision for this property?
Office is depressing. You spend more time in an office than you do at home or with your family. So why should that not be the most exciting and inspiring thing for you to do?
How do you try to match the financial feasibility with what you want to accomplish?
Robbing a lot of banks. For my business, I don't raise any money. I don't have any partners. I don't have any investors.
Hey, I'm Demetri Demascus from PROFILEmiami, and we're here with Robert Rivani of Black Lion Investment Group, who recently moved to Miami and has invested $250 million into Miami real estate. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you. So what do you think about Miami so far? You've been here close to a year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's actually been almost 2 years now, so time flies, but I love it. I love it. When I first came here, I didn't think I was going to move here full time, and then between all the investments and loving the city so much, we made it a full-time thing, and other than the traffic, which is an absolute nightmare, I love this place.
LA has traffic too, though.
Not as bad as this. Not as bad
Okay.
as this, because LA has a lot more freeways, a lot more roads, and it's easier to get to places. Like anytime you get stuck on a bridge here to go from Miami to Miami Beach, if there's traffic, you're screwed. But other than that, I love this place.
You're originally from LA. Tell us a little bit about your entry to Miami and some of the first properties that you acquired and why you made that move.
Back in the day, I bought a project called Brickell Bay Boardwalk, where Delilah now is. It's become one of the hottest restaurants in the entire city. I wanted to spread my wings a little bit. I had properties in almost 15 different states. I'm like, hey, Florida's a place I want to be. I like hospitality. So it started there, and then I saw that the market was just starting to pick up heat here. And it's a place that it's gorgeous. There's very relatively low cost of living. Like when I first came to Brickell, I said, you can live in these beautiful high rises from like $1,800 to $2,000 a month, which is now $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I'm like, why would people not want to live here? When I saw that, I started slowly investing a little bit more. COVID hit, and we were stuck in LA with 25 masks on because the government told us we had to do that there and pretty much shut us down into our homes. And I'm seeing people partying in space and having fun in Miami and going out. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I'm living in two different worlds. So we travel to Miami, have fun, and then you go back to LA and you feel like you're in prison. And I said, okay, well, what's really hot in Miami? It's people going out, drinking, partying, going on dates, having fun. So I put two and two together. I'm like, well, if retail shopping centers, people aren't going out shopping as much, aren't doing as well, now it's maybe time to make that shift. So I say, we did this like blitzkrieg where you just bought every single vacant hospitality suite from anywhere from all of South Point Drive south of 5th to Mar Paradiso to now where Gecko is, that David Grutman did a spot, and we just became the go-to group for making hospitality work in the city.
What were some of like the economic drivers that were happening in LA that you didn't have in Miami and that was attracting you to move your business?
The few of the economic drivers obviously is one, no income tax. You're saving 14, 15% off the top on everything you make by moving here versus being in California. Freedom and safety. Right now in California, and even a few years ago, you can't go to a restaurant with a night's watch without risking your life. And that's terrifying for people. Like, I don't feel comfortable going out to restaurants or events without being held at gunpoint, or the homelessness issue that can't get resolved, or any of those things. In Florida, people live safe, no income tax. People like to travel here from all over the world. And when people travel here, they spend money, whether it's from people from Europe or South America. So it's a big global destination, similar to like what Dubai is now, that it's like, this can be the future of the entire country. And God bless Ron DeSantis. He held this state with an iron fist, versus Newsom, in my eyes, ran the state to the ground. So a little bit of politics, a little bit of, this beautiful weather year round, a little humid from time to time, but all those things came together, and I said, hey, I have to invest in the city. It's the best place in the world, to me at least, to invest.
So when you buy a property and you're looking at the different restaurants that you can bring in, how are you looking at the neighborhood and the market and the different chefs and coming up with like the perfect business plan for that property?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for example, when we bought the three different buildings, Maria, Continuum, and One Ocean retail condos, hospitality condos, that street had been empty, or those three units had been empty for almost 5 to 7 years since inception. There was never a tenant in there. And I told myself, okay, well, what is the demographic of this neighborhood? It's very wealthy. There's a few restaurants that have been crushing it there for a long time, but you need to come in here with a different business plan and also be willing to spend in tenant improvement allowances, give a decent brokerage commission, get people excited about this neighborhood that's not just sleepy. So whenever I bought the Continuum space, I said this needs to be a brand that is synonymous with the neighborhood, that delivers great quality, delivers great food, and also is respectful of the community and isn't throwing a party here that's going to cause drama and all that stuff. And the first call was Catch. And Catch loved the property, and we almost inked up a deal, I think, within like 2 or 3 weeks. And they're actually opening up in a couple weeks. And as soon as that tenant landed and people are like, wow, Catch believes in this street, you know, a bunch of other tenants, Gaia, who we signed, Philippe Chow, that's there across the street, they all said, look, this is the neighborhood to be there. Carbone was a big part of that. They did great numbers. Poppy Steak with Dave did great numbers. Now I think South of Fifth became, or is becoming, the hottest submarket for hospitality in the entire city.
So can you discuss a little bit about the community that you mentioned, and when you bring in, you know, such a big name into a vacant space, how it changes the complete community and the real estate around it?
Right. So there's 2 different versions of hospitality that I see that are transforming the market. You got your typical great chefs, Michelin star guys, and then you have this version of like a club restaurant, let's call it, where it's a little bit more vibey, a little bit more upbeat, it's a little bit more trendy. And those restaurants you're seeing, like Mila, for example, Gecko, where they're starting to reach the top 20 independent restaurants in the country. Like, we're not just talking about businesses that are doing 5 or 10 million a year in sales. Some of these businesses are doing 30 to 50 million a year in sales, which is the amount of traffic of potentially 4 or 5 different restaurants, and with a crowd that's willing to spend money. So if you compound a crowd that's willing to spend up to 50 million in sales by all different type of groups into a neighborhood, that makes it sexy and fun. People will say, hey, look, I would love to buy a unit at Continuum or Portofino because there's Restaurant Road below me. I don't need to drive over traffic, go to Brickell. I've got 20 restaurants here. I got beautiful water. So you're creating a community within a community where people want to be seen. They want to go out. Like, this is Miami at the end of the day. People want to go out and be seen. This isn't Ohio where you're making your dinners at night and not going out and about. Miami's a city to be seen and have fun, and that's what these restaurants provide.
So some of your properties have multiple suites. Can you discuss the tenant mix and how important that is to the actual success of the property?
For sure. So one of the properties is Wynwood Jungle, where we put in a brand new rooftop restaurant. We've got Salty Donut, we've got Pop Bar, we've got 5, 7 different businesses that are in there. And that synergy of providing similar type businesses going after the similar type of demographics makes people want to come to these properties. So for some spaces, when we were first trying to get the property going, we would give a reduced rental rate because we knew that if we landed that catalyst tenant like Salty Donut, which would see over 1,000 customers a day, an ice cream tenant or a quick service tenant would be like, hey, I want to be next to Salty Donut because it's a similar crowd. So synergy to me is of utmost importance for the success of a property.
You mentioned Wynwood Jungle, which you were very hands-on in the design. Can you discuss, as a private equity real estate investor, how important it is to you to actually be involved in the design of the property?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing, and there was a group before me that owned it, which is a big hedge fund, a lot of money, big group of investors. I personally feel they don't put their soul into it, right? They say, hey, we want to make something fun, exciting. They hire a big name architect and designer. They really don't care about it. They think it's trendy. They pay them big dollars, and then it ends up being a flop. Wynwood's a very artistic, trendy, fun, party type of place. So I'm like, what if we give an experience where people feel like they're on mushrooms as they're going through this jungle? And let's make glow-in-the-dark art in the middle of the night so people can tag things on Instagram, social media. It's fun to bring your family, your kids, not the kids to do mushrooms, but to enjoy their time there, right? And when that came about and people saw this, it started going viral on Instagram. And I'm a big proponent of having social media being part of your entire game plan, because social media now, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, that's one of your best ways of marketing. That's one of the best ways of business. It's not like you're going to send out a newspaper and say, oh, look at this new property. It's social media. And every person that comes by this property and says, oh my God, I love it, hashtag Wynwood Jungle, it goes viral and it spreads. So that's very, very important that not only does the design make sense for a neighborhood and it's cultivated with actual energy from the owner, but also what's your marketing plan to get that message out? Because there's so many people I've seen that have delivered a great product, but their message isn't out. People don't know about it. People don't see it. So what's the point of it? So I think they're both equally as important for a property success.
Private equity real estate investors typically shy away or just don't care about media in the past, right?
I think they just don't know. I don't think they know, and I think they live on a spreadsheet, right? They just look at an IRR.
Exactly.
And it's like, if it doesn't meet the threshold, I don't care. And what I try to explain to people is your rents, your performance will go higher if you have a product that is unique. If you dominate a market or an interesting, like for example, South of Fifth, if I have a vacant space, I could probably lease it for 30 to 40% more because there's nothing left in the market and I control the entire, for the most part, the entire street. So it's supply and demand, but also making things feel out of hand. Like, oh my God, I need to get this, so I'm willing to pay more because I want it so badly.
And the social media really helped you break into Miami. We mentioned at The Real Deal, you had the 10 girls when you walked in. You were the only person everybody had eyes on.
Right.
What are some of the advantages of using social media as a real estate investor besides just helping the restaurant or the tenant that's helped you grow your business?
Look, I think it just expands doors. It just opens doors. Like, there's so many times where a lot of my tenants and friends now, close friends that I did deals with, are in Dubai, or they're in Canada, or they're from Mexico. And it's like, how else do you get access to these people unless they get to see what you're trying to do, or like what you're trying to do? Because in the hospitality industry, and now in the office industry that I'm going to, people want to see the vision. They want to see who they're doing business with. They don't want to just sign with a big name firm with nobody that they can talk to and vibe with and understand what this project's going to be. And that may deter some people because that whole corporate to mom and pop connection is very difficult. And I think I'm providing that in between.
So let's discuss your new acquisition, the Lincoln on Lincoln Road. How did that deal come about, and what is your vision for this property?
That is a fantastic question. So this building, I've never been in an office. And I've seen over the years, and especially through COVID, that office is depressing. It's the same boilerplate, cookie cutter crap. And people ask all over the country, why are people not going back to the office? When was the last time you walked into an office building and felt inspired?
I don't like offices.
You don't feel inspired, you're not excited. You spend more time in an office, if you're going to the office every day in a normal 8 to 5 job, than you do at home or with your family. So why should that not be the most exciting and inspiring thing for you to do? And that's where this whole vision came to me, where it's like, I want to incorporate all different parts of life into office. I want to bring hospitality. I want to bring health and wellness. I want to bring excitement for actually working with coworkers, and also having excitement to work with other like-minded individuals within an office, so you feel like you're part of a membership. And it's not just, I'm going to the office and punching in from 8 to 5 and I'm gone. So part of that, I said, okay, well, screw this. I'm not going to go and start what everybody else did, whether it's a Class A or Class B or Class C office. We're going to create Class X. Like, fuck it. We're going to completely start something fresh and new. And people are already saying in comments, like, why is it different? Why is it unique? And I say, name me an office building that looks the way we're making our office building, where it looks like a 5-star hotel. But in addition to that, the amenities that we have. We've dedicated almost 15,000 square feet to amenity space. So let's say you come to the office for a day as an employee, not even the owner. You get access to a gym, steam room, sauna, cold plunge, infrared sauna, showers, massage room, podcast room, cafe, speakeasy, and a living room to hang out with coworkers. Where can you get that in an office space?
Nowhere.
Doesn't exist. And there's a couple other hospitality components that I can't talk about yet that are just going to completely transform that experience. And for the VIPs, the owners of the businesses, I feel, especially I'm moving my headquarters there, it's going to incentivize people or your employees to say, shit, I want to come back to work. I'm excited to come back here. So employers are going to be like, great. I mean, I don't know about all employers, but at least for myself and all my friends, we complain that, hey, employees don't want to come to the office. This is nonsense. Like, yes, COVID, I understood it because of health and safety, but now it's like, get your ass back to work. Enough is enough. And I feel like we're providing that concept of, like, from desk to zen, where, yes, we're going to work our asses off. We're going to bust our humps, but we're also going to provide this experience of health and wellness, because I can attest to this. Without your health, there's no wealth. If you're working 12 hours a day, stressed, sick, tired, what's the point? Well, you're not getting anything out of it. You're going to die rich and alone and unhealthy. And so I want to try to combine all these different aspects of life, especially where health, wellness, and biohacking are becoming such a big deal in today's modern generation, that I want to implement that. And most of these offices I've seen look great on the outside, but have no soul.
So let's dissect this a little bit. How did you choose to go into office? Was that like a new investment thesis where you said current office is missing all of these different hospitality elements, and that's an opportunity that we have to change it? Or because Miami is so kind of picked through, were you just looking for a great deal and this is the one that presented itself and that allowed you to then structure how to return it around?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of everything. I office in a nice Class A office building in downtown, and when I go in that building, I'm like, this is really depressing. like it's not exciting. Like, why do I want to come to this office 5 days a week? There's so many things that are missing. I'm obviously buying this property because I want to make money, but I feel like there's a way to reinvent an entire asset class. Like, how many times can people in our industry say you can reinvent an entire asset class? Like, hospitality is great. People that are building residential buildings are building beautiful residential buildings. Everyone's trying to top one, but like, who's doing office in a sexy, different, and exciting way? And for me, now it's a legacy play. Thank God I've made my money, I'm good. Now it's about, how do I make this Rivani legacy continue through our buildings? And one day it's gonna become a hotel, and then one day it's gonna be residences by Rivani, and this is just the beginning of that brand.
Let's go into the office market. How do all the different neighborhoods interact, and which companies and which tenants do you think are best suited to be in, let's say, Miami Beach versus Brickell, or Design District even has office in development?
Yeah, I think for me, why I bought Miami Beach specifically is because it's the same type of office like mine. Private equity, high net worth, real estate developers, financial institutions, and also the lack of supply, right? When you go to Brickell, it's the big Fortune 500 companies, usually the big corporations. They want to be centrally located for employees. And that's great, but I don't like the supply-demand constraints there. There's a lot of potential supply there. Miami Beach, I can name on my hand how many Class A office buildings are actually there. And that's what got me excited, that this is, I think, either the largest or second largest office building in all of Miami Beach. And we own 750 parking spaces. We're the highest parking per square footage in the entire city. And to me, that just gives me a natural advantage. But also, something that was very weird that I realized, we're the only major thoroughfare east to west of Miami Beach that's 4 lanes on 17th Street. So in terms of traffic flow, it's very easy to get from Sunset Harbor to Collins. That provides that easy access for people to work, but also, I'd say a third of our building tenants are either within a 5-minute drive or even come with golf carts to work. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, versus like me, that I live half an hour away from the office. I have to drive half an hour. It's just, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to be close and convenient. And you've seen the big jump in home sales in Bay Road and Sunset Harbor area and Sunset Islands and all these high-priced condos on the beach. So I said, that's the market in the area I want to focus on.
And let's get into that. How is the Miami Beach market? There's almost no supply of waterfront housing. The pricing is at record highs. Right. Where's the office market and where's the restaurant market?
Similarly the same. The residential market's on fire. I can't believe houses are getting up to $5,000 to $6,000 a foot when rates are in the 7s and 8s. But there's a lot of money out there, and you have a lot of people from the West Coast and the Northeast are just saying, screw it. If I'm saving 15% in income tax, and I used to be paying $5,000 to $6,000 a foot for condos, look at all this land and waterfront I can get here in Miami Beach. The hospitality market, there was some guy that was talking about how it's restaurant Armageddon, and I'm sitting there laughing my ass off. Like, are you seeing how many restaurants that we have are in the top 50 restaurants in the entire country? Where's a second-gen restaurant space that I'm not aware of, that I haven't bought yet because it's been empty for a year? And you have some of the top brands, not only from the country, but from the world coming here to open up businesses. So hospitality is on fire. Like every other industry in this world, you're gonna have your ups and your downs, but overall, this is the hottest restaurant market in the country, period. Nothing competes. And in terms of office market, similarly, you saw AP, the big watch company, taking a penthouse in Sunset Harbor in an office building because they want to be close to their clientele. And that was one of the other things that inspired me, that say convenience, location are very important for that high net worth client. And that's what inspired me to say, okay, there's something here with office, but making it a Class X office and making it different and special.
And I think a lot of people forget that Miami is a brand new city, right? So when they look at it, and they're always looking for the bubble, because that's how Miami is always.
That's all we heard of. I remember when I invested here for the first time 6, 7 years ago, they're like, get ready for Miami's bubble. This is just a vacation city, because I used to own up a property up in North Palm Beach. It was a big shopping center. And it was a vacation town over there. It was by Palm Beach Gardens. Half the year we call them snowbirds, they were here. Half of the year they weren't there. What people didn't realize now is people actually moved here and they're staying here. People are living in all these new high-rises, apartment buildings, condo buildings. So I don't see this shift of people just moving here for the season and then leaving. They're here full-time like myself. I think that's why we won't ever see that crash again. Most
of these districts are brand new, right? Brickell 15 years ago.
I mean, even 7 years ago, before Brickell City Center, Brickell was nothing. It wasn't exciting. You didn't have any restaurants there. That was the catalyst that made Brickell like holy mother of God. It's special. Even Wynwood. wasn't there 7, 8 years ago as like it is now.
And let alone that with Michelin stars and attracting the top chefs and the top talent.
Right.
How does this new energy around Miami give you the opportunity to really, create these districts into something that wasn't there before with either your Wynwood Jungle, there's a lot going on in Design District, Miami Beach. How does that blank canvas really help?
It has goods and bads. The blank canvas is great in the sense you have all these emerging markets, which is exciting, but you also have a lot of overdevelopment. A lot of people are saying, oh my God, look how successful Brickell is, so we're going to build 2 blocks down and we hope to get the same type of energy and the same type of tenancy. But now you're starting to see, in my eyes, a little bit of an oversupply. Like Wynwood, everyone's building ground floor retail and building tons of new high rises. Design District is still like somewhat close niche together where you don't have a lot of room to grow east and west. Downtown Miami still hasn't blown up yet with everything open, so how's that going to affect the market? Brickell's still the hottest market where you can't find anything, but the good thing is like Miami Beach, Wynwood, Design District, south to Brickell, if you look at this compared to other markets like LA or New York, it's still relatively small. It's not that much stuff. The problem is everybody's going after the same dollar. And can it support all those restaurants? And I think that's the thing that's kind of difficult for me when I'm buying things, because people are like, oh, Robert, well, you can buy this and make this hot. It's like, you have to buy on the exactly perfect corner in the exact right spot. You can't just say, Wynwood's hot, so I'm going to buy everything and be successful. So you have to be laser focused on which specific corner, which specific street, and I think that's very important for investing now.
I know the know your consumer is a huge part of design and creating the right concept for the right property. How do the different neighborhoods in Miami work? Because when you have a Michelin star restaurant, everyone from every neighborhood is going to want to go. Are there different consumers in different neighborhoods, or is Miami?
For sure. Oh, for sure. Like, we call it the crowds. It's like the Wynwood crowd is very different than your South of Fifth crowd. Like, you're not going to go suit and tie in Wynwood and feel fancy. It's more like, hey, let's go out for a fun night of dinner. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's go party, go to a bar. At least that's how I feel about it. But then you saw a concept like Pastis. That is a little bit more upscale that came in the market. It's like, it was actually successful. But I think those concepts are few and far between. When you go south of Fifth, you typically are expecting to spend a lot of money in your super fancy. So I think it just depends, what kind of vibe you're into. Like, right, Collins at one point was like the hottest thing in the world, and then that started dying off, and then Lincoln Road with Mila became the hottest restaurant in the country. So I think what's important is putting neighborhoods aside, which I do think everyone has its own neighborhood. It's deliver the right product, deliver something fun and interesting and different, and you'll be successful. But if you think everyone's doing this Tulum concept, and I'm going to copy the Tulum concept because it's hot right now and I'm going to be successful, is why you're seeing so many failures and businesses going sideways, because they just copied a trend that wasn't here to stay.
And in the success of a restaurant in Miami, you have obviously the tourist group, right? And then you have the local group. How important is it to capture the local group, and is it harder than catering to the tourists? How do you think about that?
I think it's equally important because you see the tourist group only at a specific time of the year, right? Miami is seasonal in that sense. When it's hurricane weather, people are probably overseas in south of France or in Ibiza partying, and they're not going to say, I'm going to go get on my yacht in the middle of a hurricane in South Beach and I'm going to have a great fucking time. So I think it's important to cater to both, but also making sure that you constantly have outreach. Some of our restaurants, they always keep in, they give, hey, if you're if you live in South Florida, we're going to give special discounts. We're going to keep you excited about coming here. Even the small things like remembering birthdays or anniversaries, that goes a long way with people to have loyalty and say, hey, I want to keep coming back here. Because when a new restaurant opens up like Catch, everybody's going to go. But are you going to go the second or the third or the fourth time? Was your service right? Are you making people have long wait times? So it's all the little things that I think that are important for people, for restaurateurs to understand and appreciate, that will keep people coming back, because you only get a first impression one time.
And what are some of the ways that you draw inspiration to go into the designs of your concepts? Is it through travel?
It's traveling. I've traveled to almost 60 countries in the past 10 years and seeing how different markets curate restaurants in different markets, like Tokyo, for example. We talk about in America where you want to be on the hard corner, you want to have a perfect spot, fully visible, and then you see Michelin star restaurants in Tokyo on the 4th floor of the building next to the massage parlor. And you're like, how does this work exactly, right? It's because the quality and the product's great, and even the designs and how they go about building spaces and the uniqueness of different markets and how spaces look and act to each other. we were just in Thailand, and I'm like, I want to bring some Thailand design elements into the Rivani building. It's just, you want to give people something exciting and different to look at. For example, this beautiful stone. You see this on every single freaking building in Miami. It's like, when are people going to like gamble a little bit, like get out there, look a little bit different, look a little bit unique? And now you're seeing the huge influx of like the different towers, the name branded towers, which is exciting because it's making things look different. Because if you look at all the Miami Beach towers from before, it was all the same white buildings, blue glass, they all look like sister buildings. And I traveled to Panama, and you could see that in Panama City, it looks almost exactly like Miami because all those designs just went back and forth. And I think now that you're seeing this whole hotel revolution too of Bulgari, Amman, they're all starting to look a little bit different and bring a uniqueness where people are like, hey, Miami's a place I want to go and be around. So I think it's important to be well-traveled, well-cultured, and that will go into your projects.
What are some concepts that you've found through your travels that we don't have in Miami, or you think could be a good opportunity to bring in? I see on your Instagram you're always having fun, different experiences. What are we missing here that other cities have?
I think a more wide variety of hospitality. I think a lot of people jumped on the sushi train, and everyone's like sushi, sushi, sushi for all their concepts, and we're missing a lot of like Middle Eastern flair. We're missing a lot of concepts that are like, I don't want to say hookah, but just bringing a different element of energy to a space that otherwise is just not a sushi concept. And I think, a lot of the restaurateurs that are there today are starting to pick up on that trend and doing different concepts and shifting away. So I think Miami's great. Honestly, it's an amazing city. You got boats, you got water, you got a lot of the late nightlife. So I don't think we're missing much. I just think we're missing a little bit more creativity on the exterior elements of our buildings and trying to gamble a little bit and saying, I want to try to build something unique.
What are some of the ways that you've gone to your properties and created these experiences to help the tenants and continue to draw and put a spotlight on it?
I think it's the design of the property. But more importantly, making spaces work. Like, to get permitted in the city of Miami Beach or city of Miami is very difficult. So it's holding those restaurateurs or retail tenants' hand in understanding the permit process, designing spaces that work from, that aren't like bowling alley type spaces, that have enough frontage, that have good accessibility, that are ADA compatible, like all the small things that people don't think about that are important for restaurant success, right? Like having Eurowall or nano doors that open up to an outdoor patio, making sure the outdoor patio is usable with the inside. So it's all these things when it comes to buying a building. Like we re-gutted the entire interior of Wynwood Jungle to reorient the space flow. So that way the spaces were actually usable, because we had a lot of spaces in the middle of Wynwood Jungle that had no street visibility. It's like, how is a business supposed to survive here with $5,000 to $6,000 a month rent and don't even have a sign on the front of the building? So it's reorienting the spaces, redesigning the spaces, making an exterior that's exciting for people to want to come to. I think those are things as a landlord that you can do to make a property successful versus just saying, I bought this building, I'm the landlord, pay me my rent, take it or leave it, which a lot of landlords, in the Wynwood market do that. And they're still sitting empty even when the market flew and was really hot.
How is that relationships with the tenants, and how hands-on are you with each one?
I'm very, very hands-on. I think probably 90% of my tenants have my personal cell phone number and they call me, and I'm very close friends with a lot of my tenants, and I think that's important, because if I'm going to sit here and say that I'm that in-between of a corporate powerhouse and a mom and pop shop, they should be able to have access to me, right? They're investing and believing in what I'm spending in, so I need to invest and believe in what they're spending in. I think that creates a very good relationship.
And as an investor with huge visions, how do you try to match, the financial feasibility with what you want to accomplish?
Robbing a lot of banks. So for my business, I don't raise any money. I don't have any partners. I don't have any investors. And for me, it's every single time I buy a property, for the most part, and I add the value, I typically sell it and I 1031 exchange it. For those that don't know, a 1031 exchange is you can keep all the value that you made in the property, you have 180 days to exchange that property, and then boom, I don't have to pay taxes, I can buy something else. So I'm constantly having my money work for me versus just sitting on an asset for 10, 20 years and it doesn't appreciate as much as I could by rolling up my sleeves and reinvesting. So for me, it's just taking calculated risks and also selling at the right time when I know something has hit its peak, and then pivoting to something else. Because if I thought that just staying in the shopping center industry was my future, I would never be here today. You have to constantly adapt. You have to be constantly willing to change your horizons and say, yeah, I may not be comfortable in this industry, but it's better for my future of my company. And that's what I've been doing a pretty decent job at.
What are some ways that the government and the city of Miami can help to continue to create the same momentum that we've had and continue to attract businesses and residents now that we've had this first influx?
I think the most important thing is to stick to what, Florida's governing policy was when COVID had hit and what it is now, and keeping things pretty tight and regulated and not trying to subdue to what I call a certain culture that would affect people's livelihoods, crime, safety, etc. Especially in my industry, permitting has been very difficult for a lot of people and getting approvals. I think if there was a way to third party it or outsource it or make it a little bit more streamlined and convenient, I think that would allow for a lot more businesses to open, a lot more buildings to go up quicker. But when you're hearing when some projects, high rises, are taking 7 to 9 years, it's like, am I really excited to do that? Like that terrifies a lot of people. So I don't want to say cut all the red tape, because it's important to have buildings that are built right, properly, but there needs to be a happy median where we're not spending 18 months to go through permits, and how it affects the small businesses. This is an important point for people to understand, especially cities. A lot of these businesses fail before they open. And why do I say that? Because if you have a lease that gives you 8 months free rent or 12 months free rent, because obviously the landlord can't give too much free rent because they have bills to pay, but say they even give you a year, but a city holds you up in permitting for 12 to 24 months, who's paying those costs? The poor tenant is paying that loss of income, and that's coming out of their pocket, and they may not be able to afford that. And the city's like, oh, I don't care. That doesn't matter to me, but they should care. They're providing a service to the community, and I think if that was able to be expedited or helped a little bit, I think that would go a long way for every single person involved.
So we have a lot of towers under development right now. In the next 5 years, the city's going to look completely different than it did before. How do you see the future of Miami, the markets? Do you think there's going to be continued growth, any pullbacks? And at the end of the day, are you going to continue investing here, and do you want to be here?
Yeah, I think there'll be some pullbacks. I don't think you're going to see the big drastic pullbacks that everyone talks about Miami being so known for. There's a lot of towers that are being built, but simultaneously you're having a lot of influx of outside money that doesn't feel safe investing in California, New York, Northeast states. Like, well, where's my money the safest with as much appreciation? And it's here. And a lot of the younger generation saying, hey, I want to be part of this exciting environment, because I'm sure when you go to Brickell, for example, the energy is fucking awesome. Like, you want to be there. Everyone's into health, nutrition. They're excited to be there. They tell their friends what a great society is, and people, when they come there, they feel that energy and want to live there. So I think the growth will continue. I think it'll be not as hot as it's been for a few years, but I think it will continue to go up. But for me, we just reached our $250 million investment mark in this area, and we're going to continue to do that, because I still believe that we have a ways to go. Like, New York was on fire for as long as it was. People just, it's the future of the entire world. Manhattan will always be Manhattan, but I think we're now becoming Manhattan of the South, where people are going to keep throwing money at this. And the best part about the economy here, or the real estate landscape, is there's only so much land. When downtown and Brickell get built out, there's nowhere to go. There's water on your side. Like, you can't just keep building out to the west and saying Doral is going to be the next Miami Beach. It's never going to be that. So I think just because of the geography, because of the amount of wealth that's coming here, I think Miami's here to stay.
So Miami has one of the stronger real estate communities. You have some of the best architects, best brokers, best developers. You were in LA first. Can you discuss a little bit of what you found in the Miami real estate community when you got here, and how it differs from LA and other cities that you've worked in?
It's very different, because Miami is a much smaller core type city. Like, everybody knows everybody here. Everyone's friends with each other here. All developers, we hang out, know each other. LA, like, you could have a developer that's in Pacific Palisades or Malibu, and then you have somebody in downtown, and like, they're not really, it's just such a big landscape that everyone has their own territory. And up until, like, I think there was a show on TV, I don't remember the name, where they started making like brokerage and real estate development sexy. For a while, it wasn't really that sexy. Now you're seeing Miami, like, everyone's like taking that on to another level and making real estate fun and exciting. Commercial is never as fun as exciting as residential, which sucks, which is why I'm trying to make fun for people and say, no, this is a profession that's here to last. But, the developers here are doing some fantastic projects. Like, I don't think there's even 1 or 2 name brand condos like the developers are doing here. And it's like, when you see like the Bentley branded condo, or you're seeing the Dolce & Gabbana, it's like, shit, that's exciting. That's unique. That's different. Brands now are combining with towers. Like, you don't see that in LA. And I think that's something that Miami has different, where you're attracting people from all over the world. LA wasn't doing that. And I think that's what Miami's doing really good, and it's going to continue to do.
And you just branded your building the Rivani. Can you discuss the brands and how important the brand is to the building and the consumer expectations when they walk through the door?
I think branding is the most important thing you can do as a developer. Because when I stay at a hotel, when I travel, what do? I go to my trusted brands. I don't look at the building. I mean, I do. I want to make sure it's a nice 5-star building. But if I'm going into a Four Seasons or a Ritz or a Mon, I know more or less exactly what I'm going to get in terms of quality, room types, hospitality, and that's important to me. So for me, I want to live and die by my own sword. I built the Rivani because I want it to be a representation of my hospitality, my world travels, the concierge service and feeling you're going to get there, but also the quality and the luxury you're going to expect when that building's built and done. So I thought, why put some funky name that I'm going to make up out of my butt on a drunk night versus putting my name and my legacy for this building and for the many more to come in the future.
And what does a day in the life of Robert Rivani look like?
Chaos and hell with no time for freedom. No, it's exciting because I consider myself a startup tech company that's in real estate. Like the growth has been out of this world. I've never expected to grow so fast. And it's just a lot of learning pains, a lot of like, hey, we're doing office all of a sudden. So the whole team's like, we've never done office before. And it's like, we're doing shopping centers. We're going to do luxury homes in Malibu. We're going to do hospitality. So it's fun because it's always a different day and it's exciting and it's new. But it's just, it's a lot of fun. I'm going to leave it at that.
And what's next for you and Black Lion?
Making Rivani the greatest office building the country has ever seen, and also seeing, we have a lot of new restaurants opening up. We have Catch that's opening up in a few weeks. We have Rosa Negra, which is one of the biggest hospitality operators in all of Mexico, opening up here. We have Gaia, which is the biggest hospitality operator out of Dubai, that's opening up here. So making sure all these restaurants are successful, they're opening, creating that culture that we talked about, and then making this office building the perfect office building for the future, and then opening up in the Gables, Palm Beach, and Fort Lauderdale, and different markets throughout the South Florida market.
Do all these restaurants come to you, or you search them out?
I think it's a little bit of both now. In the beginning, yeah, it was definitely hardcore, me going out to them, flying to Dubai, meeting these people, getting them familiar with the landscape of, hey, look, I'm here to help you. I know Miami may be a little bit foreign to you, but let me help you through that process and get across the finish line. And now I'm seeing a huge influx of DM, social media, like, hey, Robert, we heard you're the guy. You're the perfect person that I want to collaborate with and partner with, like Rosa Negra did. We love your space. We trust that you're going to put a good product out there and get us open in a good time frame. And now it's like that mutual respect of like, hey, if there's a top tier restaurant that's going to come to the market, I usually hear about it very quickly.
Excellent. Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the time.